Right, good evening, guys. Welcome along to the SFC interviews. This is Mike Heineman, joined by David Bridges. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
How's things been through the strange sort of lockdown and times that we're under at the minute?
From my point of view, it's personally been a really good time because fortunately there hasn't been anyone that is direct to my life that has sort of been affected in terms of their health. So that's that on that side, but also the time that I've had with my children. So the kids are at an age where I would have never have had that time before. So that's been really special. And then on a work perspective, I'm not furloughed. I've still got plenty of work going on, even though football's not in.
Mm-hmm.
Still loads of stuff around the academy and our sort of strategy moving forward. So I had plenty of that to sort out.
Okay, whereabouts are you at the minute in terms of your football? And are you still with Lincoln City?
Yeah, I'm head of coaching at Lincoln City. Yeah, so we have the academy performance plan that we have to have in place for the audit. So we've basically completely rewritten it. We've used these 3 months to sort of restructure everything or perhaps document everything that we're doing. So we have that all in place for when we return.
Okay, right. So let's crack on with a couple of questions about Stevenage, really. So you started off with a debut against Oxford, but that wasn't actually straight away when you signed, because obviously when you signed, I think you were injured pretty much straight away, weren't you?
Yeah, so I got injured on the last pre-season game versus Leyton Orient.
Yeah.
So the last pre-season game, that was a broken foot. And then that turned into 2 broken feet. So we basically what happened was I was still coming into the ground. I was hopping about and I got a stress fracture in the foot that wasn't broken. Obviously, pre-season was pretty brutal with Graham.
Yeah.
And yeah, my body gave up in that last game against. I remember going up for a header, and as I landed, I just felt a crack in my foot. And then sort of a couple of weeks later, I sort of developed a stress fracture in my other foot from hopping around, still training. So I ended up a fair few months. I think it was middle or late December by the time I actually made my debut. So it was a crazy time.
Yeah, but even in that debut, you sort of shone in the debut and in games not too long after that. I think you actually, yes, you had to wait a while, but when you came in, you started off really brightly for the club.
Yeah, I think what it was when I came in, I sensed how competitive the environment was.
Yeah.
It was hostile in terms of like the competitive edge. I think you certainly something coming out of like going into coaching now. It's something that I think is massive to create that. I think Graham did an excellent job at it. But we were together. So the boys, although they competed and it was brutal and it was ferocious, but we had this sort of mutual respect across the group. Mm-hmm. So with me being out of it whilst I was injured, I was really conscious that I had to come back and be the best I've ever been. Just like returning in terms of how I was at the end of that pre-season wasn't going to be, because this team was going to evolve and develop. So I think in my character, I'd never cut a corner anyway. Unfortunately, I'd always had injuries through my career, so I knew how to rehab to make sure I came back stronger. And that's pretty much how I went about it. So I had all August, September, October, November to make sure that when I came back, I was bang on it and I could contribute, because obviously I had that sense of, I've moved to the football club. I want to make an impression, and all I've done is watch football. So I had to make sure I was ready when I got there.
Absolutely, and then the following on from your debut as well. The next game after that even was another one where you got involved in quite rapidly with a couple of assists in that one. I think you got two assists in that second game as well.
Which game was that?
The second game that you played in after Oxford. I think it was. I did write it down. Hold on. I think you might have assisted Jemmy for a couple.
Was it? Okay. I just remember.
I think we won 2 or 3-0 anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that period of time over the 3 or 4 months that I had before the bad injury I took then against Oxford, the home tie. Yeah. I felt really good, but I felt like the group were just all pulling in the right direction. There was a real feeling of like being in flow. We were going out into football matches knowing we were going to win. We were going out with a mentality that they wouldn't be able to live with us. We had too much for them. At times we made it really difficult for sides in terms of how we played. And then there were times where because of the group we had, we knew we could play if we needed to. So I think we were really clear going into games whether we were going to beat teams up and be direct and get dupes on the ball, or if we were going to sort of counter-attack on sides and be expansive in that sense. So obviously we had the personnel to do it.
That's right. And then obviously you mentioned Dukes there. Boro was in that side as well. And yeah, there was a good group in there. And you know, the likes of the back lot as well. You know, Ronnie and Daisy and Robbo and Scott and yeah.
The back five had a great year. Well, they had perhaps 2 or 3, 4 years altogether, didn't they?
Yeah.
They got. You then had like Bozzy was like my dad, even though I was like several years his senior.
Okay.
So he played centre midfield most of the time with me and just looked after the centre of the pitch so I could go and get in the box and whatnot. And then you had Mitch one side, Dukes, Lee Boylan.
Yeah.
Steve, obviously, that got goals. Laurie was just like a young guy, but you could see what he was going to become. Just had loads of options and variety. Murph can come in and just bust people up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And a real excellent blend. Obviously, Beardo and co. Like it was a good time. Yeah, Beardo came after that, obviously, but I think when you go into games and you don't you know that you'll be able to deal with whoever's in front of you. That's kind of the mentality we had at that point.
Absolutely, and that kind of even goes to beating Premier League Newcastle. Obviously, the mentality was sort of stems from that as well.
Yeah, that was that the year later or 2 years later? I can't remember, but I think it was just that because of.
I remember you coming on. I think you came on for about 5 or 6 minutes at the end of that game.
Yeah, like I'd been injured shock, and when I kept returned a few weeks before, I weren't. The squad had evolved. I wasn't a player in the squad at that point where when I was fit, I then played again. Whereas perhaps when I first joined the club, if I was fit, I played. We'd progressed from that point. Graham was building something exciting, and you learn to understand where you're at in the squad. And I remember leading up to the Newcastle game, I knew that I wasn't going to be playing in the game, so it's just how you contribute. And again, like that, what he built, Graham, with Dino and Tumble and Ali, was just all the group of players, like knowing that they were always going to be contributing and everybody had to be together. And it's really hard because you're in an environment where players have egos and you're all in it for your own livelihoods and your own jobs. You go to work. And so it's quite tough sometimes when you're not playing or you're injured or you're suspended or whatever. But moving forward into wanting to coach and manage, I now appreciate all of that so much more. Like what the mentality of the group he built in terms of the environment is very good.
Okay, and then obviously, we'll get onto suspensions and whatever later because obviously the trophy final and that type stuff. But we'll save that for a little while. We're not going to forget that you're a champion. You won the conference with the team. So how was that?
Do you know what? I think for years I didn't know what winning looked like. I had a good mentality so I could become a winner, and for many years, like I turned pro at 19, had years in that was when we were in League One with Cambridge United, then League Two, left for a year, played abroad, and then had a year in a conference with them, 2 years in a conference with them. But all those years didn't win anything. Didn't understand what it took to be in a winning dressing room. It wasn't until I went to Kettering with Mark Cooper, and there was a group of players that shouldn't have been together at that level, so we blitzed them. But that made me realise what winning looked like, because most players don't play in winning sides. Like, there's only one team that ever wins the championship, and so it took me till 24, whatever it was, 25 to win anything. And then obviously off the back of Kettering going to Stevenage, then was with a group of people that we then went on and knew how to win. So I think it's one of those where winning the conference was obviously excellent. And I think whenever you win anything, whether it's a cup competition or whether it's a league over however many games, like, it's special regardless of the level. So whether it's like the Conference North, the National League, a trophy, whatever it might be, because even that's a different pressure with a trophy, because you only get that one moment. Where a league, you obviously have to be excellent over a period of time. So that understanding of knowing what winning looked like in terms of attitude, behaviours, habits daily, like that's the bit that sticks out. Like, obviously conference was an amazing year, wasn't it?
And then obviously, it was fantastic. And obviously you scored the final goal in the conference against York as well, in the 1-0.
Yes, I remember. Do you know what I remember about that goal is that I just remember it being a really bad game. I don't know what.
I remember it was just a strange game, because the league was wrapped up and we were just waiting for the trophy presentation. It was like we kind of had to play a game of football or watch a game of football that we just kind of don't want to be doing.
Yeah, that's right. So I just remember it being a bad game. Real sort of not a lot happened within it, and I just remember Beardo getting down the right channel, and I remember thinking, I'll make this, because I knew that Beardo wouldn't like fly away. Mitchell used to do, or Yem or whatever. So Beardo in the channel, I just knew that I'd be able to get there and arrive, it was like just a back post header just inside the keeper, like. But I just remember being a bit of a relief, because league fans had something for the day, because everyone was just waiting for the trophy, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So at least we gave them something to cheer about, as well as lifting the cup.
It was an amazing day. Like, it kind of righted a wrong. That the Newcastle game as well, in sort of fans' opinions, it's like your group and that group of players are the kind of players that have done an awful lot for the club in, righting wrongs in terms of promotions from back in the day, and when we threw with Newcastle. And it's a special group, even for the fans. Like, even now, the fans love your group of players. So
amazing. I think even at that time, the players obviously don't used to read it in the paper or in interviews, be asked about what happened when you couldn't go up, and the previous Newcastle game when that came around. So in those few years where we almost like eclipsed or put right a few of the things that had happened, the players were still aware of it, because the people around the club, there were still people like, obviously, the fans, the journalists, the people that worked within the club. There was also always plenty of people that used to comment and talk about it. So the players were aware. Obviously, we just get brought in. We have to apply ourselves as professionals daily as best we can, and we're at a certain football club for a certain amount of time, and you just try and do your best for your reputation and your legacy, if you like. So the fact that we can be part of what we did for Steve is just obviously like amazing.
And obviously we had that little run in the FA Trophy as well, getting to the final. Obviously, your semi-final and your final couldn't have been more different, could they?
I know, yeah. Well, the crazy thing is, the year before, I scored in the semi-final first leg, and then obviously we went and Pete scored in the second leg to wrap it up. Yeah. And then I got injured, like the game or two after that, and missed the final. Mm-hmm. I remember the trophy win, the first trophy win.
The York City one, yeah.
I just weren't a part of it. I was a semi-final. I scored a few goals in the build up to get to the final, but ultimately I was in my tracksuit on the day, injured. And as special as it was for the group and for the football club, I was gutted and sick about it in terms of not being able to contribute on a day. Mm-hmm. Fast forward a year, again, obviously scored in the semi-final in the
Kiddie, yeah.
And then and then it all went wrong. It was an amazing moment for 27 minutes, and then it was done. So I think when I've been asked about it before, it's every kid's dream to walk out at Wembley in a cup final.
Yeah.
And I walked out with my nephew as the mascot, and it felt completely surreal and amazing. And then at the same time, it was the worst moment in my career as well, like in the same day. So real strange emotions. And I think I look back at it, it's just like what you take from it. And I know that I've always been really mentally strong, and I can deal with whatever's put in front of me. And I just think I'll need to recall on that somewhere down the line. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it and the mentality I take with it.
Would you say that was sort of a tool down to being overeager at all, from obviously wanting to put a kind of a wrong in your own mind from the previous year, but obviously being out injured and that?
There's two parts to it that I think I look back at and reflect on it. Is the fact that I missed the season before. I was desperate to impress. I was desperate to have that day. Yeah. And secondly, something I've already alluded to is that I wasn't probably expected to start. I'd been a squad player for that season, and not necessarily a squad player, but I certainly wasn't a cert like I was in my first season. Yeah. And I could have been. There could have been two or three other lads sat on the bench thinking they should have been playing, but I had that other bit of like, I felt like I had to justify the selection. I had to justify Graham's faith. So I had that bit in me on the day where I just was desperate, and I'm all about energy, positive, negative. And a desperate energy isn't a positive thing. So that's obviously played out in the way it did, and that's a shame.
And then, it was quite a shame because obviously that was was that your final game for the club? Or did you play a little bit the following season? I think you might have played a couple of games the following season.
Played
bits and bobs again,
again, injury for 3 weeks here, 6 weeks there, and then, like I said to you before, not being a automatic selection when you're fit, you end up being a bit part, which is a shame. But I don't know how many starts I made in that year, but I can't imagine it was more than 15 or so, or 20. I don't know. Have you got the stats there, mate?
I did have, but I'm just trying to have a look. I know I wrote down loads of information. I think it was about 20 odd. I didn't actually write that one down, but yeah.
It was certainly a bit part that year, and I remember, like, again, Man United fan, and I was sat in the stand on crutches, like with crutches. So the day at Old Trafford,
the final, I
remember so incredibly well. For me, again, sat there and I had a boot on, and was tough to take. So I'll repeat it really. Like, I want to go and do. Coach and manage in the Premier League. I've got a huge ambition. I'm hungry for it. I feel like I can get to a higher level than I ever did as a player. And I think all those types of tough lessons and experiences that I had in that period is incredible as the 3 years were for me at Stevenage, because they were the most successful of my career. Yeah, I had tough moments to take and chew on. So I just think that will help me somewhere down the line.
I've just checked the stats. It was 24 in the last season at Stevenage.
There you go. Is that starts or appearances?
Appearances. So some of them will be, obviously mention that as well. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember I had a calf problem. I rolled my ankle, I done my ligaments. I did my medial. Like, it was a stop-start all year.
Yeah, it's just a difficult one to take. Obviously, you got a playoff winning medal at the end of it, but it's just on a personal note. Obviously, you want to be featuring a lot more in that season. Yeah.
And I think I knew that there was a period of time at the club where I was a real big part of what was happening, and then due to my health, like my health, my body, my fitness, like football stands still for nobody. and that's just the way it is. And you have to take that on the chin. If you're fortunate enough to play consecutive games season in, season out, you're going to be successful. You're going to be a big part of what's happening. And if you can't stay healthy, you won't. Like, take Bozzy, take, I'm trying to think, Ash, not so much Ash at times, but yeah, Ron, Lairdy, Daisy, like, I can't remember them really missing games.
No, yeah. I remember even Ash now is quite big into all his fitness and all that with the Pilates stuff he's doing. So he's kept that going. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we're a fit group. we had to be, and it was amazing life lessons for us all, no matter what we go and do, like in terms of what winning looks like and values of how you go about your day, etc. So
we've got a couple of messages there. Hi Gigs, hi Russ as well. Got a question from Matt. Favorite memory in your younger football career, like before you were a pro footballer? He's an American Stevenage fan. We don't get very many of them, but there you go.
Favorite memory as a footballer? Good question. Before I was I reckon I won't use my scholar years when I was a scholar, because I suppose that counts because it's full-time stuff.
Yeah.
I remember playing in a cup final for the county and being like the proudest day. I had, like, when as a kid you got to have a captain's armband, like chest, and I walked out, and it lights, which is like, obviously didn't happen a lot back then, but now obviously the 4G pictures, it's just normal. But and I remember I scored it like late on, and we won 2-1 and lifted the cup, and I was just like, you feel like Roy the Rovers. You feel like you're living the dream, and there's actually, like, you couldn't see any past the floodlights back then because they were so poor and low. But in my head, like, you just think, well, like, this is incredible, I'm going to be a footballer, etc. I suppose it's different when you grow up and it happens, and it's just your life and you live it, and it's like your job or your like your vocation, if you like. So but yeah, that would be it. Like, just those things that every kid thinks about, playing in cup finals, being a captain, scoring a goal, like all of those things that, like, all of us grow up thinking about.
And then we've got another one from Russ as well. What are your thoughts on the games behind closed doors so far, like the Premier League and Championship and things like that, and the playoffs?
Boring. I find that it just goes to show what massive effect fans have on football. It's everything to the whole occasion, the environment. Like, it's very difficult to, like, when I'm watching it takes me back to when I was like a 17, 18, trying to break through as a scholar, playing in the Avon Combination League Reserve League on a Wednesday afternoon, like empty stadiums, like that Cambridge United this was, or we'd travel to Brentford or wherever it might be, and it's really big, and it's a massive moment for you as a kid, like trying to get your professional contract, etc. Playing with some of the first team players in the team, because obviously back then the squads were big, so if you were traveling with the Rezzies you were doing really well. But there was just a dead atmosphere, really. Like, I suppose that means that you have to be strong in your head to make sure you're motivated and on it, but I just watch them, I find them painful.
I feel you on that as well. Obviously, as I said to you this afternoon, I was watching the Sheffield United Arsenal game, and it's disappointing for fans as well. And when like Ceballos scores a 91st, 92nd minute winner, and there's like in front of an empty away stand, it's just wrong.
I think this is like, it's unprecedented, isn't it? It's like it's a bit of a freak situation, and I think we will look back on it and have a bit of a chuckle to ourselves with regard to what it looked like, how the games were played out, etc.
And the fact we had crowd noise played across the TV because there was nobody in the stands.
Isn't it?
Have you ever wanted to be a referee?
No. Do
Have you ever had any referees that have kind of got your goat a bit, that you kind of been a bit annoyed with?
Yeah, like there was certainly times like when I was younger when I used to not have great relationships with them, and then obviously it's that bit of experience when you get a bit older. Like I had them on toast. I knew that people that would moan, shout at them, etc. Like I can think of a few of the boys back in the day that were like it, weren't helping themselves. I knew that if I was their mate in the tunnel, if I was like shook their hand, I smiled, I treated them like a human, that would probably mean that I'd get a naughty foul or two before I get a booking. And when you play centre midfield in the National League or League Two, you need to find ways to get away with a couple. So that was certainly like, I know when I was younger, I used to get frustrated and shout and get annoyed like a lot of players do, but I certainly wised up to it and worked out how I could deal with refs in the best way.
It's a bit like when I spoke to Luke Foster on Friday, he was saying he's still really annoyed at the referee that sent him off when he missed the Bury game and the Accrington games and the playoff games. He's still really got it in for that same referee.
Yeah. I remember I was watching in those games. I was watching from the stand with him. So I remember the time well.
And he was saying he was still, he had a bit of a rant at the referee. Let's say that.
Foz was one of them that used to help me with my relationship with the ref, because I'd be like, "Oh no, that's ref. I'll sort him out. Don't worry." And then just get Foz away, and then just go back to the ref. Sorry about him. Like, it's all okay. And then next moment, I'll be able to go through someone. I'll be all right.
Next up, we have what we got on here. So you obviously played with Graham Wesley. What was he like to play under?
I haven't got a bad word for him. He, like, obviously from the outside, he can be made into whatever people want him to be made into. From my experience, you can only take someone as you find them. And for 3 years, he was excellent with me. Like he created an amazing environment where at times he made it us against everyone else. Us against the club, us against the fans, us against the other, if it's an away game, their support, whatever it might be. There was other times where he'd create where it was us against him. Where like we hate him, we're like, it brings us together. We think we say this, they say that about him. But I think he's a very intelligent man, and everything that was going on around those times when he was creating those scenarios and situations was calculated. I think he created an amazing environment.
And you mentioned already, obviously, he had a great backroom team as well with Ali, with Dino, with Tumble. They all kind of helped him out no end as well. Yeah,
without a doubt. Like, I think that it was a period of time where the club just clicked, didn't it? And those four, and obviously it shows in what you then go on and win and have against your name. So I just think he'll always be like that Disney character. Do you know what I mean? The way people perceive him, and if he was good or if he wasn't. Look, I went there and won stuff, and I played when I was fit in that first season, probably the best football I played for those 20 odd games. And that,
even going back to the stats there, that kind of, without like listing off every single game that you were involved in, you assisted and scored a fair amount of goals in that time.
Yeah. I think just quickly going back to it, it was just, I felt like I owed it.
Yeah.
I owed people it because he'd brought me in. You get, like, as a professional, you're getting paid decent money, and I watched loads of football and it don't sit right. So I was making sure I was working as hard as I could to come back and contribute. So it's just a shame Oxford happened because, like I said, I was playing my best football at that point. I'd scored that day. I think we were 1-0 up when I came up.
Yeah, I think it was.
Morrow, I think we countered. Morrow went down the right, pulled it back, and I scored. And then moments later, I just followed up and a shot. I think I followed up a shot, or there was a cross or something. And I went to poke it past the keeper, and he yeah, he caught me when my foot was planted, so that was that. But it's a shame because that was the best part of my playing career, really, just going out in, like I've mentioned, in flow, just not thinking about things, just playing and feeling free. So,
And there were some games in there, there's one game I really want to kind of go to, and that was the 6-0 at Eastbourne. I was talking about it with who was I talking about it with the other day? Somebody else that I've interviewed on the channel anyway. And we were talking about Mitch, and how good was Mitch in those 10 minutes?
Oh, God, yeah. He just ran away from people and smashed it in the net. He was, I mean, he was one of those players where, like, he can win you a game. His pace is so direct. He was just a really, really special talent for that level. And I think we could set up and be like, he could be that strength, because obviously I had Duke to one side, myself and Bozzy often in that period, where we could like play Dukes a bit narrow and just let Mitch cheat. So I remember there was times where the ball would be on the right side and I'd be left of the centre of midfielders of me and Boz, and I'd leave him loose instead of having round, because it was like, look, we'll sort this bit out. We'll just get the ball in and get it out to you. Which we could allow him to cheat, because he could, you knew what he could give you if we could get him the ball. So, Mitch was excellent for those 10 minutes on it. Was it a 10-minute hat trick?
Yeah.
That's obscene, isn't it?
I don't even remember, but it could have even been a perfect hat trick. I don't even remember.
Who else scored?
I know you scored.
Joel? Did I scored? Joel
you scored. Jozza scored, yeah. And there was
I know you got the other one.
I can't remember, but I remember Eastbourne was. I think was that the day when it was fancy dress and all the fans were dressed up as women and all of that?
Were they?
I think so. Like old women and stuff. Yeah.
Love it.
It was. I don't know if that was the same year, but that was definitely Eastbourne as well. Just going down there and just having a good old day. So yeah.
Crazy days.
And actually, another one as well, a little bit similar to that, was Kettering. I think you might have scored. Was it Halloween against Kettering? And there was a few behind the goal that were all dressed up in Halloween stuff as well.
I might miss that one. Did I play in it?
I can't remember if you actually. Maybe you were injured. I can't remember, but yeah.
I'm just thinking, because that was my previous club.
Yeah.
I'd certainly know if I'd scored against them.
Yeah, because you won a penalty against Cambridge. That was one of your former teams, wasn't it? And that was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Marmite because of that moment now at Cambridge. Yeah. Some of them have forgiven me, some of them haven't.
Oh, really?
It's funny because I'd actually scored 3 years previous. I scored against Stevenage on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
And then, however many years later, I went down for a penalty for Stevenage against Cambridge. So they seem to remember the going down for a penalty in the last minute more scoring the winner against you on Boxing Day. There we go.
That's football fans for you.
That's it, mate.
Let's have a look. Who was the most influential teammate or coach in your career? Or you can combine the two. It doesn't really matter.
Influential coach or teammate. Do you know what? It's really difficult because it depends how you look at it in terms of a player.
Yeah.
I remember coming through and playing centre midfield with Paul Wanless, who was a club captain at Cambridge at the time. And obviously I'd watched him for a couple of years as a scholar and then playing in big games with him in there and thinking, wow, like I'm playing with Wani. Wani was a bit of a club legend. He still is. And then you think around like our period of time and some of the characters were in that group. Like I can't tell you enough how incredible the group was.
Yeah, but you saw that even as fans, we could see that because we'd all get together. We'd all go to Daisy's for a pint after on a Saturday. Like everyone would go and spend their nights together. So
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? I think with a coach, it's a bit easier because you think around what successful teams you're in. So obviously Graham, Graham is that one for me. But I think that, you know, I was fortunate coming up when I was obviously learning the game, and I had my youth team coach, Dale Brooks, and I had some great people whilst I was at Cambridge United coming through that have gone on to do really excellent things in the game.
Yeah.
But at the time, you didn't realise how good people were that you were being affected by. Ricky Martin's now academy manager at West Ham. He's had obviously high-profile jobs at Norwich before. He was the Centre of Excellence manager at the time. Dan Ashworth came in, who obviously ended up being technical director with England, and he was at Cambridge United whilst I was there as a kid. Paul Ashworth, his brother, was a massive influence when I was growing up. So, like, I think when you look at like influential teammates, coaches, like there's so much that goes into what fans see on a Saturday as an adult, that's happened before. And then with regards to influential teammates, you've got like, I mean, Morrow used to just score goals, and sometimes like we were great pals at the time, and I'd be saying, like, I'd be screaming at him saying, like, is this, is that, because he won't run. And he just chucks his arms about, and then he'll run up there, score, and go, yeah, shut up, Bridget.
Like yesterday, I was watching the first leg of the playoff final against Cambridge, the 3-1, and we went down to 10 men pretty early on. Robbo scored the first. They pulled it back to 1-1. Morrow kind of looked a bit anonymous and then scored 2 goals at the end.
But and so in terms of influential teammates, like he could do that. He just scored goals. He was like, he just had that knack. He could run away from people. He was powerful. He was like, he was a player that had that in him. And then at the same token, like you mentioned him just then, Robbo as our captain for those years. Like when you think of your influential teammates, like we all went out and we were what we were, but he was our captain. I think again, when I was saying it, like Ron was the same mould, just didn't want the armband, but a massive part of it. Bezo, like, didn't play like usually, but like you could see just from his contribution what our changing must be, like how tight it was and how it invested everybody were in it. Crazy.
But no, that's, you know, it's just a great team, really, a great group of players. And yeah, you know, as I said, I was talking to Adam Miller, in fact, about the FA Trophy when the first ever winner at Wembley under Stimo, and he was even saying that, you know, at half time in that game, Stimo had a massive go at Morrow, and then Morrow goes and scores the winner in the last minute. Stimo wants Morrow to shut him up, but you know, he was probably giving him a lashing at half time.
Like I think he's just that type. He will brush anything off. He was a character that wouldn't really let anything get to him. He had that arrogance and that bit about him where he had total belief. That meant that people might perceive him a certain way, but that weren't him. He was a good guy. He was a massive contribution to anything that happened. Obviously, when he went, we then had that period of the league and put that sort of the turnaround at Cambridge United. That first year, we made it right the following year without him. But he certainly had that little bit about him where you knew he would come good. You get frustrated because he'd chuck his arms about and say we're all not very good. And he was the one.
Scoring 25, 30 goals every season.
He'd then back it up a little later. So it's all good.
We've got a question here from Russ as well. Would you ever consider going into punditry?
I suppose that just depended on what opened up. I don't suppose I've really got that type of profile, would you say, to like end up at the top of the game doing that sort of stuff. But again, like, you don't know what will happen in the future, don't know where I'll end up, and like I think the thing that you always got to remember, like, it's always going to be an opinion, and you've just got, if you can talk about the game and try and make it clear for people that are listening and of what you're trying to get across, like, you've got value, haven't you? So
absolutely, yeah. And it's all a matter of as you say, opinions, and people are going to disagree, and you might get a little bit of stick on social media for it or whatever, but you just kind of got to take that on the chin.
yeah, it's all good. But I don't suppose many players care what's said about them when they're a pundit, because they've had people scream at them saying all sorts about them when they're played. So
Yeah. We've got another one from Matt. Did you ever want to own your own club? If so, what would you call them, and in what city?
No, so I'm like, that hasn't really ever come to me. Like I'm very much a doer, so I want to play and I want to coach and manage. I certainly would want to. Like the academy manager at Lincoln City, Jordan McCann, excellent guy, and doesn't have any aspirations to go down the managerial coaching route. He's an excellent coach, but he's looking to do obviously as an academy manager, there's still loads of legs in terms of where he could progress. And he's very good at the organisation in terms of documentation and policies and procedures and all that. That's not really me. I'm better with people. I'm better talking face to face, interacting, rather than being that organised document policies, procedures guy. So I couldn't ever see me owning a club and running one in that sense. Certainly running a team and dealing with players, absolutely, that's a right bit of me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Everyone's got their own sort of different aspirations. What have we got on here now that I haven't mentioned already? So basically, obviously you've said there about you're still involved with Lincoln. So are you sort of still following Stevenage at all in terms of the situation and the relegations and things like that at the moment?
Of course, yeah. Like it's whenever you play for a club, you've got a thing for them, and obviously when you have a really successful period of time with a football club, it's gonna be even more so. And they're the first team I look for. Also, the fact Aggie, you don't call him out, you call him Revs. Alex Ravel's a friend. Like we're at Cambridge United together from 8 years old till we were scholars and lived together and came through together at Cambridge United. So of course I'm in contact with him, and he's obviously been a big part of what's been going on in the last few years, and he's a great guy. Always follow Stevenage and what's going on there.
Were you at all surprised when you saw the likes of Kenners and Joel and Dean Parrott released at the end of this season?
I think from the outside you're always going to go, what on earth is going on? If you were to have all the information in front of you, like the decision makers will have, it would probably be very similar to what we've done at Lincoln. With Bozzy going, with Erds going, with like some really big players for our football club over the past couple of years, now being released. It's the climate we're now living in. You can pretty much bank on wage bills going down by, I don't know, 35-40%, maybe more at some clubs, which means players that would normally be the first on the list because you have to have them for what you're building are now just not in range. And that's just that.
With the relegation as well, like it's 99% confirmed now. And they kind of have to look at getting some of these players off the wage bill, as much as they've been excellent servants to the club.
Absolutely,
and done an awful lot of great things. And, they kind of might be on decent wages, and just kind of have to kind of get rid of a few to bring a few in and kind of start afresh, I guess.
And I think players and agents don't quite understand it right now. They will do a few weeks and months down the line, but players' earnings and what players they're going to get just won't happen. So people that will be offered a reduced term and reject will soon realise what their new value is, new worth.
There's another question now. I'll look at that in a minute, in fact. So let's have a look here. So that was kind of that one. So with Ronnie, obviously you mentioned about Ronnie. Did you play in Ron's testimonial? I know you were down there, weren't you?
Yeah. Played for.
I remember seeing you down there, and I remember, yeah.
Just what a bloke! What a bloke! He is an amazing character in a dressing room. He's got a funny old way about him in terms of his sense of humour, his energy. He can come in and be a right moody like bloke, but like someone say something to him and suddenly he's off and he's off. He plays a little character at times in terms of like being grumpy. He tried to be the hard man with Graham and say what he thinks, and he's a great guy. He used to get carrots every year for his Christmas present from the boys.
There's a story behind that. Then you go on. You might as well get into it.
Just for his gnashes, for his teeth.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny used to get carrots every year. He loved it. Great guy.
I remember the year that we won the trophy, not the trophy, the conference, I should say, and like everyone just flocked to the billet, and we were all with Daisy, and I just remember like I literally grabbed Ronnie and gave him a kiss.
He is a great guy. Like takes football away. Really nice man.
Yeah.
Family are amazing. It's just great to see someone that's a really good person have such success. So, yeah,
absolutely. And he's still involved with the club, of course, as well through the youth side of it, as well as being with Billericay and working with AJ there. And
that's it. Yeah. So I'm just going to get my charger. I'm nearly run out.
That's all right, mate. We haven't got too long actually. I've literally got a shoot in 10 anyway. So. But yeah, this one here, best and worst stadiums that you've ever played in.
Best and worst stadiums. Accrington's not nice. Best and worst. Worst. I think I'm going to have to change my angle on this now, mate.
That's fine, mate. No worries.
There we go. We're up and running on 2%.
Yeah.
Worst stadium. God, we had some stinkers back in the day. Like, is this just whilst at Stevenage or just generally?
I guess he means in general, like, yeah.
I suppose like when you drop down, you play. Like I dropped down and played at Chelmsford and played for Kings Lynn. You go to some absolute hellholes. So it'd probably be unfair to me to start reeling them off. But
no, fair enough.
Certainly, as when you're full time, there's a couple that's like jump to mind. Accrington being one of them. The change rooms like.
What about the best stadiums? Obviously, Wembley's going to be in there. I know you only spent half an hour on the pitch, but
cheers, mate. Yeah, cheers, mate. I would say it all depends on what you say is the best stadium. Like I like the old school football grounds. Unbelievable atmospheres and where they feel like they're on top of you. So I played at Loftus Road against QPR. That was full at the time. It was brilliant. I like grounds like Brentford, Southend. Do you know what the ones I mean? Like proper, not like MK Dons. That it's just like vast. The stadiums are all the same. All these brand new ones built by the same company. Just feel a bit soulless. So yeah, I definitely like
they're all soulless at the minute, mate.
I know, yeah. You know, like our games when we used to go out and play Luton at home. Full. Like those games are so much better than when you play MK Dons on a Tuesday night and there's like 5,000 or 6,000 fans and it's empty. Beautiful surroundings, no atmosphere.
No one really there.
give me a full stadium that feel like they're on top of you all day long.
And then obviously that goes to the sort of Tuesday night games. And what was it like playing under the lights? On a Tuesday night, or sometimes the odd like Wednesday night and stuff as well.
They're just great atmospheres. Like I think when you get in a little routine, Saturday, Tuesday, like the Tuesday games feel easier to prep for.
Yeah.
The Saturdays, obviously, it depends on the travel and the arrangements and that, but certainly the night games always used to have that little bit extra.
It used to be a great atmosphere, because I remember in your day when you were playing, I used to be like right in the thick of it in the East Terrace, and it was just that kind of atmosphere was just insane.
Yeah. Oh God, it was jumping. When we used to come out and then do the handshake, do a little warm up, and you go over to you before the game. Like everyone was bouncing, the drum was going.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Is that still happening there or not?
Yeah.
Do we still have the drum banging and everyone around?
We still have the drum banging, the same song that Dale Covesta still sung.
Brilliant.
So
Bezo ain't been in there recently, is he?
Last one was Ron's, wasn't it? Ron's testimonial.
Right.
Did he jump in there for Ron's? I think him and Graham did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And obviously Mitch's game as well. He jumped in there for a bit then too.
He can't help himself.
I don't know if he's been down here actually, like recently. But no, the last game I was at was the Salford one when they lost 1-0. That was Westie's last game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to be his last ever game at Stevenage. Probably won't be, knowing him, but yeah.
Who knows?
So let's have a little look on here. So are you still in contact with any of the old boys? Obviously, Ronnie and Robbo and stuff.
Yeah. We've got a thread. We've got a WhatsApp thread. So we're all on there. We exchange bits and bobs through the days here and there. There's I can't think now who's not on it and who is, but there's all of that group are all on a WhatsApp thread still.
So you're still in regular contact then. That's good. Yeah. And then so we've said about that one. Obviously we've spoken about a number of those players already, Lairdy and Robbo, and we've done all of that, covered that. What was I going to say? There's pretty much one more really. Yeah. So, what made you want to join Stevenage in the first place?
At the time, I didn't really have any massive aspiration to leave Kettering. I'd gone there, after a pretty sad ending at Cambridge United, where Jimmy came in, we didn't see eye to eye. It was never going to work out for me and him. So I signed for Kettering. I took the drop. They were full time. Coops was great with me. We had a great year. I weren't in that summer looking to go anywhere really. Mm-hmm. And then obviously when Stevenage came in, I think there's all the fans will like this. Like there's a big difference between Stevenage Football Club and Kettering Town. Yeah. And I think when you get the opportunity, I went and met Graham. It's just like the next step back to where I wanted to be. Obviously, I dropped down. I know that Kettering had then gone up to the same league as Stevenage, but the level, the aspiration of where they were going, it was the difference. What was getting built, what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it was just an absolute no-brainer for me.
And obviously, when you went down there, did you? Obviously, you spoke to Graham and. You want to, sign straight away after seeing the training ground and having the initial chat?
Yeah, I spoke to him on the phone. Spoke to Graham on the phone. He said, come and meet us. Went in and literally got shown around the offices, around the club. Mm-hmm. And sat with Bob, and it was done. Yeah. It was there and then. It was pretty quick, really. Very straightforward.
Okay. Cheers, Russ. Thanks for that, mate.
Nice and Russ. Thank you.
So yeah, that's probably roughly about it. So did you play in Mitch's memorial game as well?
Yes, yeah,
What was that like? Obviously, that was I spoke to a few players about that. They said it was obviously a very emotional day to be involved in.
It was just a real, really emotional. It was eerie. It was strange. Just something you never think you're going to be a part of.
Yeah,
you'd never envisage having to do that, but very sad.
and then obviously, that's probably about it, really.
I was his roommate. I was the only one that could deal with his snoring. He snored so he's like a train. Nightmare.
But it was nice to obviously get some of the West Ham boys down. Obviously, Joe organised that, didn't he? Joe Cole obviously got Nobes and a few others down. That was obviously nice, nice for them to pop down and be involved in it as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, great guy. He was really sad.
And then that's probably about it, to be honest. I think we're good, mate. Just obviously, you mentioned about Ravel. So just anything you want to just kind of add at the end about obviously the club obviously dropping back down to the conference now. Sort of you just got any messages you want to add in terms of anything that you want to say to the fans or just to kind of
with what's gone on, it's a really tough moment to deal with, and it's just a moment in time. So as bad as it feels, as like there'll be now an opportunity to move forward and have great moments again, because the football club will want to rightfully go back to where they feel they belong in the Football League. So as bad as it feels right now, that you're like, there's always winters and summers, and like this is a winter, it's a moment. And that round the corner, spring and summer, and there'll be, yes, you'll look back on these times and it's like not what people want, etc. But looking forward, there's always opportunity. So I just think keep as much stability around the football club, around the squad as humanly possible with the circumstances, which is obviously not secure at all. Mm-hmm. And just be excited about what's to come. Like there's no point. There's no point doing anything other than that, I don't think.
No, it looks like there is pretty much a fresh start though in terms of playing personnel. There's about 24, 25 that have already been released for next year, and I think two signs.
Yeah,
2 strikers that have been signed. So he's 2 players that are quite well known to non-league as well, and kind of they do have a knack of scoring goals in the conference. So that will hopefully help us as well.
It's like that we are all a group of players that came from all different parts of the game and came together, and it worked, and there's no reason why it can't happen again. I would always say it will take time. Mm-hmm. The fact we've been in the Football League will come straight back. Like no one has the right.
Not going to be the level of teams that are in there. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's going to be a case of giving whatever group come together the time. Like for those 3 or 4 months at the start for us, it was really tough. I think we were like just outside relegation. For a period of time, and people were saying like Graham's this, Graham's that, and then we go 20 whatever unbeaten. You just need to give players time to learn about each other.
And I still think that's got to be one of the most games that the club's gone unbeaten in any season anyway, or any spell of time. I think it's got to be your spell. So there you go. That's something else to take out of it as well.
Yeah, you would have thought I doubt there'd be very many other periods of time that Stevenage certainly or football clubs get that we had. So yeah, it's special.
Right, and we'll end it there, I think, mate.
Nice one, mate.
Thanks for that, Bridger. Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Bye bye.
See you later. And then just briefly as well, guys, we've got Rob Sinclair on the show tomorrow on the channel tomorrow. Be interviewing Sinks at around about 7:30, sort of UK, British time. So if you want to tune in for that one, it'd be live across the Twitter and Facebook as this one has been as well. So we've got Sinks up next, guys. Of course, big thank you there to David Bridges, the conference winning midfielder. But we won't say too much more about what happened in the FA Trophy. But yeah, that was of course excellent to speak with Bridjo there, the player to score our final conference goal before we moved into the Football League as well. So thank you for watching, guys, and listening, and we'll be back with Sinks tomorrow. All right, take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night.